Hello and welcome to another episode of the DTF podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Dosser. That gentleman you see to my left is John Fanta, and that gentleman on my right is the one and only Terrence Oglesby. Gentlemen, it has been a wild weekend and a wild Tuesday night in the world of college basketball. Fanta, you had an up close and personal view of it last night when you hosted After Dark, an up close and personal view of Jeff Goodman's countertop and the fact that he doesn't like to put groceries away. We will get to everything that has happened in college basketball here. We got to talk about BYU. We got to talk about Auburn losing. We got to talk about the bubble. We got to talk about UNC and Duke playing. And I have one question at the end I'm going to hit you guys with, and you have to answer. It's a little bit it's a tough answer. It's a tough question. There you go. Jeff Goodman calling. All right.
No, Jim Calhoun.
Jim Calhoun is calling. Okay. You're going to answer it? You need to take it? Jimmy C? The legend?
You open up with T.O. Go ahead and open up with T.O.
All right, T.O., I'll open up with you, man. We'll get to Fanta in a second. BYU. They won
Talented,
at
man.
Iowa State last night in double overtime, despite turning the ball over 29 times. They won at Arizona about a week and a half ago. They've won 7 in a row. They've won 11 of their last 13. They are now a top 25 team on all of the metrics. They are the 7th best team in America since January 20th, according to our good friends over at Torvik. So my question to you is just how we know they're good, right? And we know they're hot right now, but just how good is this team? How good is BYU? Are we talking second weekend? Are we talking can make a deep run? Like what do you make of this BYU team and how they've been playing?
The hard part about registering it as that is the fact that we've talked about probably 30-something odd teams as being potentially second weekend teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of this college basketball season. I just think there's more teams that are good this season than in years past. There's just so many teams that can make the second weekend. However, when you talk about forming a team in today's modern game, you look at do you have that young freshman super talent? That's a huge point. And then do you have some veteran pieces? And BYU's veteran pieces aren't just veteran pieces. Those are grown-ass men.
Mm-hmm.
Because they go on their missions for 2 years, and then they become freshmen, and sometimes they redshirt. And so they're really old. So you add that combination of different guys and then throw in the fact that there's a lot of size, there's a lot of ability to score, they've got good shooters, and they've got veteran presence. I love BYU. I love their team. And what'd you say, rattle off? What is that, 8 and 7 in a row? Again,
7 in a row.
Good competition. Like you start out and then you beat Kansas at home, Arizona at their place in a great game, and then you rattle off at Iowa State. It is not easy. And they weren't just winning at Iowa State. They were thumping them. Iowa State makes a run to come back because BYU turns the ball over. But you win at Hilton Coliseum, you've got something rolling because that is a tough place to play. But it's the mixture of the older pieces and the young talent. That's what sticks out for me, and that's what's going to be the thing moving forward for Kevin Young, because they'll be able to mix and match a lot of those guys, and they've got deep pockets in Utah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the biggest thing to me is so with last night's game, right? They were up 21 and blew that lead. It completely melted away, and they call it Hilton Magic for a reason, Fanta. And the game ends up tied, and I'm like, this going into overtime, there is absolutely no chance that BYU is going to find a way to be able to win this game. Like the Iowa State's rocking, that building is rocking. They build up another lead again. I think they were up by 6 in the overtime, and then they gave that away, and it goes to double OT. And they find a way to win in double overtime despite blowing 2 leads and turning the ball over 29 times. I could not be more impressed. I got to take on BYU. I'll give you in a second. I want to hear your thoughts first, though, before we dive into it.
Well, first off, I just want to say this. This is the best time of the year, bar none. And I think it gets confused at times that we just need a bracket and then all the madness begins. The madness is well underway in earnest. The chaos has already begun. Either you're on this wagon or you're not. Like if you're not on the wagon, I don't know what to tell you. Where are you going? Where are you? Like this is the best time of year. You know, this is it right here. I mean, last night we had multiple double overtime games, one between Ohio State and Nebraska, then this game too. And, BYU is the biggest testament of this time of year. You got to get hot at the right time, and you have to find ways to win at the right time. And they're finding ways to win. They've won 7 in a row. The fact that they can finish in the top 3 of the Big 12, are you kidding me? That's an amazing first-year head coaching job done by a guy who, when he was hired, we're like, I don't know, is this going to work? Like, it's hard to pinpoint. Now I'm finding out what Utah is one of their favorites, if not the front runner, is an NBA assistant. That's quite interesting. I mean, it is. It shows you the change in. I think we're going to see over the next 10 to 15 years coaching hires be different, because if you come with this type of wisdom and you have a source of money or two, you're going to have an edge in the job. You have to bring a couple of different things. Clearly, with Kevin Young, Rob and T.O., there was more than just we think he can coach. Like there's more to the story here. His NBA background helps. They play an NBA system. They're enjoyable to watch. From a standpoint of like, okay, what do we make of them? In our Big 12 preview show, I'm like 90% positive we said BYU could be a dark horse in this league.
Yep,
and we said it because when we looked at Richie Saunders and Yegor Demin and his upside, and I thought Mawat Mag was a really good portal pickup who played 37 minutes last night. He takes people away defensively. Like that guy guards and guarded at Rutgers. Rutgers could really use him. But Keita and Cannell, who didn't play much last night, but Dallin Hall stepped in off the bench and played 32 minutes. I mean, Dallin Hall is a stud. He's a stud. Like that kid just makes shots. He gets to the free throw line and he figures out a way to impact winning. They are not a perfect team. And it's not like when you look at Brigham Young, you're talking about a team that, is great defensively because they're 57th in efficiency. But they're a classic example of they are so in touch with who they are offensively. They're a really dangerous team in the NCAA tournament because when you're scouting for them and you're trying to figure out how you're going to defend them, there is a point with having to defend them where you have to pick your poison. You have to be willing to live with something. And if that's falling, oh boy.
I think 3 things have happened over the course of the season that has led to this development. The first one is, so Kevin Young is coming from the NBA level, right? And Tio, you can attest to some of this as well. Their offensive coordinator is a former NBA guy. Their defensive coordinator is a former
Will
NBA
Voigt?
guy.
Will Voigt, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So Will Voigt.
Go ahead.
Will Voigt coached in Norway, and he was my national team assistant coach.
Yeah, so you have.
I didn't even know he was in the game, and I was watching highlights of BYU, and I was like, "Is that freaking Will Voigt?" He looks a lot younger than he is. His old ass has been around the block, dude. He's coached everywhere. Sorry, go ahead.
I love anyone that's associated with any Scandinavian country. Tio knows exactly who they are.
I'm locked in with the cold people. I'm locked in with the cold people.
What's he like as a coach?
Smart, very smart, bit of a wise ass, but very smart. And he was the original creator of the Veer switch, which is basically you get your ass beat. He's the guy who comes over and helps from the corner. And then the guy that got beat, instead of going back, he runs to the corner to try to take away that pass. He was the first guy to kind of initiate that thing. And we were trying to do it. And I was just like, but I'm getting beat so bad, Will, that there's no way that I'm going to be able to get to that corner. Sorry, go ahead. Will Voigt, hell of a coach. Kevin Young, hell of a coach.
All I was going to say is that the 3 guys that are kind of their decision makers on that coaching staff are all former NBA guys, and the adjustment going from the professional level to the college level, where it's so much more physical and it's a different game. The NBA is a different game than what college basketball is right now.
NBA is it's not basketball. It's more entertainment than it is game. Conceptually, you can still do a lot of the same things. But as far as the way the game is played, it's incredibly different. Incredibly different. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. So I think that the adjustment level for the staff figuring out what it takes to win in college, it took them a little while to kind of put all those dots together. The other thing that they did was they got significantly tougher when your boy Fanta Mawat Mag got moved into the starting lineup over Cannon Catchings. And I think you saw what Mag did last night in terms of being able to his numbers aren't going to jump off the page in terms of like what they call them stocks, like the steals and the blocks. But there aren't 20 defenders in college basketball that are better on the ball at shutting somebody down than Mag is. Toughness, physicality. We saw it with Keba Keita last night. I think that they've gotten better in that aspect. So their defensive numbers, where they might be, what'd you say they were, like 57th? I think they're better than what their numbers are. Yeah, and recently they're better than what their numbers are. And then the other part of it is, guys, Richie Saunders took a leap. Like he figured it out in the middle of the season. And Tio, I don't know where you stand on this. I think that he's in the conversation for like first team All Big 12, especially if BYU keeps winning like this. But he's been terrific. He was awesome last night. I did not realize how much shit he had to him. Like he can put the ball on the floor and get into the lane, and he can draw foul. Like he's a better player than I thought he was. Coming into the season, my expectation was basically like this team will go as far as Yegor Deming can take them. And like Yegor Deming's probably like their third option offensively right now. Dallin Hall's been really good of late. Richie Saunders has been awesome, and they pound the offense. Like I really think BYU is like a second weekend caliber team. They're going to end up in probably that 6 seed line, and whoever is the if they're a 6 or a 7, whoever is that 2 or 3 seed is not going to have a fun experience in the second round of the NCAA tournament against them.
I think Young has opened up his game, Richie Saunders, and he's given them ability to shoot it as soon as he's open. That was the thing that stuck out to me, especially early in the season. It was kind of an adjustment process for some of those guys that were returning. And not saying Mark Pope didn't let him shoot early in the clock, because he certainly did, but it was almost the point to get it down in 6 seconds to try to find something. So there's always going to be a balancing act, and you're going to figure those things out towards the middle of January into January. And I think you're right. Richie Saunders is really good. And we talk about 50, 40, 90 guys. He's close to 60, 45, and he's shooting 80 from the free throw line. So he kind of kills it there. But like, I'd take that. I'd take that any freaking day of the week.
You guys reading this headline here of the last hour? Just quickly, I know we're in the midst of all college basketball, but Kevin Boyle this is his last year at Montverde. He is stepping down, and he's leaving to head to Spire Academy out in Geneva, Ohio.
Yeah,
and he says it's because of the changing landscape. 14 years. I mean, he coached Cooper Flagg. He coached that unbelievable team last year. That's jarring. Montverde's been so damn good in basketball. That's a huge loss.
You know who went to Spire Academy, T.O.?
LaMelo Ball.
Ball.
Yeah, LaMelo Ball.
Your favorite player in the NBA.
Yep, he is.
All right, let's put a bow on the BYU conversation with it. I need you both to make a decision on this. Fan, I'll go to you first. Obviously, I'm going to say it for all of us. Houston is the best team and the most likely team to make a Final Four out of the Big 12. Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona. Like, who are you? Iowa State. Fan, who are you taking second out of that group of the Big 12? Who is the second best tournament team in this league?
Texas Tech is the second best tournament team in this league. Texas Tech is long defensively. They have multiple offensive threats, whether it be JT Toppin, Chance McMillan, Darian Williams. Those are 3 guys that are averaging at least 14.9 points per game. Hey, man, how are you? Thank you. Nice to meet you, too. They got 3 guys averaging at least 15 per game.
That just happened live.
That balance is. I'm in Providence, so we're in downtown. So I'm at the convention center here, and this is where I'm doing the pod. So that's just what's going to happen. So I think that when you look at what Texas Tech is, I like the fact that they have a lot of versatility. Toppin's a star. Make no mistake about it. JT Toppin, when he plays his A game is one of the best players in the country.
Yes.
So they possess that. They can shoot the 3, and they're pretty long defensively. Grant McCaslin has a mix of people that can get him very far in the NCAA tournament. I still don't really trust Arizona. Iowa State, I don't like the way they've played the last month. Remember what it's about. It's about what you're going to do in March. I think BYU's dangerous. I think they're playing well, but if I had to make a pick, it would be the Red Raiders.
Tio?
I'm sitting here. I'm trying to find the article that CJ Moore just wrote, and I read like the first half, but he brought in what's his name from Wyoming. I'm
Jeff
sorry.
Linder.
Jeff Linder. And he was talking about how McCaslin used to go and check his phone at halftime just to see what Linder would say about his offense. So he's like, the heck with this. I'm tired of texting you. I'll just bring you with me. And now they have the best offense in Texas Tech history. Mm-hmm. That literally, and think about the recent success of Texas Tech. Like the best offense in Texas Tech history. We know they're going to guard. They're a top 30 team defensively, top 10 team offensively. I do like the way that BYU's playing as of late. And the key is always, how are you playing going into March? If I had to pick between the two, the fact that Texas Tech has JT Tapa and Darian Way, like they're
Darian Williams might be the most undervalued player in college basketball. That dude is a stud.
Not disagreeing.
He is a great rebounder. He makes big shots. He understands how to play. He's a connector that can also take over a game. Like I didn't mean to cut you off, Tio, but
no, you're good. You're good.
He is awesome.
Yeah, he is. I mean, they have a lot of talent, and like you look up and down, like JT Toppin's a sophomore, but he's the hardest playing sophomore there is. Darian Williams Jr., Hawkins Sr., Chance McMillan Sr., like they've got a nice mix, man. And both teams do for that matter. But if I had to pick one right now, I'm going to Lubbock. I only want to go to Lubbock. Vacation destination, Lubbock, Texas.
I'm actually with you guys. I think that they and the reason to me is simple. I think they're a little bit more matchup proof. I think that with BYU, we saw them, they can, when you get physical with them and you have smaller guards that can climb up underneath them, I think it becomes a problem for some of their ball handlers. I don't know how they found a way to be able to win that game, turning the ball over. I think it was 29 times. It felt like 387 times. But I think that is a little bit of a red flag to me where teams that can guard like that are going to create some issues. So I think that BYU is a little bit more, Texas Tech is a little bit more matchup proof, but it's a tougher decision than I thought it would be. And it's very strange to not be saying Iowa State in this situation, but it feels like the injuries kind of took away a little bit of Iowa State's mojo. Another big game happened last night, T.O. Auburn goes on the road and they lose at Texas Tech to Buzz Williams, or at Texas A&M. To the Fighting Buzz Williams. And while acknowledging that Texas A&M is a very good team, despite the fact that they just lost 4 in a row, I feel like this was a sign of a team that had just won the SEC championship on Saturday night and celebrated like they won the SEC championship on Saturday night and knows that they have Alabama, their arch rivals, coming to their place on Saturday. This was the most obvious trap game in the history of trap games. It was the trappiest trap that ever trapped. What do you make of Auburn's loss?
By the way, I drove past the Trap Museum in Atlanta on my way to Georgia Tech yesterday.
The Trap Museum?
You haven't heard of the Trap Museum?
I have not heard of the Trap Museum. Did you go?
Look it up. Anyway,
Did you go?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you this. The worst possible trap game you could ever play is against a team that plays as hard as Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Like, that's the worst. And let's keep in mind too, like Wade Taylor, is he the greatest player to ever play at Texas A&M?
He's one of them.
Some nights he looks like it. Some nights he looks like the worst player to ever play at Texas A&M.
But that's the same for all of them.
Yes.
Like all the great players had, like, because they don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
He very well could be. And then, was he great last night? No, he had 16 points and 5 of 15 from the field, but like, they don't have to be efficient because they just play harder than you. And if you're going to play a trap game, that is suboptimal. Let's put it this way, to play against A&M. Those guys play incredibly hard, and they just beat you to death.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Williams was damn good at A&M. Remember when they had Admon Gilder, TJ Starks? I mean, but I'll tell you what, like that, Taylor's had a legendary career there. Legendary.
Hey, let's put some respect on AC Law's name, okay?
Yeah, he was good.
AC Law the fourth. What is it with Texas A&M and guys who are the fourth? AC Law the fourth, Wade Taylor the fourth. If you're the fourth, if you're a point guard and you're the fourth of your name in your family, go to Texas A&M because you're going to be an absolute dog.
Come on now though. I don't feel any differently about Auburn.
No.
They're the number one overall seed. They could lose again. They're the number one overall seed. They could lose 2 more times the number one. They are not losing the number one overall seed. They are going to. They got Alabama on Saturday. If they win that game, it don't matter if they lose the first game of the SEC tournament. They are the number one overall seed. Make no mistake about it. You shouldn't be worried. They didn't have Denver Jones, or as Goodman said, Dylan Jones. They didn't have Denver Jones.
He called him Dylan Jones last night, and then he called Dallin Hall Dylan Hall. Like, what is it with him and people named Dylan?
He doesn't do well with that. He doesn't do well. He showed his age. Look,
he spent too much time shopping. That's what the problem was. He was
is there nothing less surprising than the fact that Goodman doesn't put his groceries up when he comes home?
That is crazy talk. I mean, I do want to do everyone's like, oh, who he coached for. I want to do a who he played for with Goodman. I mean, now, like, I really want to. I want to just do like a high major who he played for at the Final Four. I think we're going to have to, because I need to see what he does. Listen, A&M had to win this game. Oh, and I know what you're thinking. No, they didn't. Yeah, but at some point, like, they had to win a game, period. They lost 4 in a row. This was a prime chance for them. You know, this is like I don't mean to take anything away from the win, but Auburn fans did, I want to get your thoughts because I see you guys in the chat. Like, this is like what I like to call a resume misnomer. So, like, when you look at the resume, like, it's a good thing for A&M. And they're good enough to compete with some of the best teams in the country. But, like, if you said that they beat Auburn, you wouldn't have said that they beat them at this point in the year when they had lost 4 in a row. Like, I'm still with A&M, I think they're a Sweet 16 team. I don't think they're beyond that. And I don't even know if they're that. I think that's their ceiling. Excuse me. I think Sweet 16 is their ceiling. Like I think they're probably I think they'll win their first round game, and then they're matchup dependent in the second round of the tournament. But I don't trust them overall, even though they won this game. Auburn was hungover. They celebrated that win in Lexington like it was out of control. Who knows how much they partied, but I'm not worried one bit about Auburn. Big picture, I think A&M, to their credit, they knocked down enough shots. I think they hit 9 threes in this game. And when Phelps and Taylor are cooking, they do have a shot against most teams.
That's the key. That's the key. Like, those guys are going to be when the structure of what Texas A&M does is, like, we got 2 guys that are streaky scorers, not just shooters, streaky scorers, and we're going to bet on them getting hot and bet on the fact that if they're not hot, we are the best offensive rebounding team in college basketball. So it's like, let these dudes cook, and when they're not cooking, we're going to go get these second chance opportunities, which is like, it's kind of a risky way to play, but it makes sense with the way that this roster has been built and, like, kind of what Buzz Williams likes out of a team. I get it. Their whole team is old enough to be Fanta's dad. About that. That's what they're saying about Auburn right now. They're old. They're old.
Yeah, they are old. And
Chad Baker Mazzara and T.O. were actually in the same high school class. They played AAU together.
It's just I think one thing I would say is this. Auburn still has the opportunity to be crowned as a historic team if they win out from here. If they do. If they end the season, I said this on Sirius the other day, like T.O., agree or disagree on this. If Auburn were to win out, and I don't think they'll win the SEC tournament by virtue of they don't need to. Mm-hmm. They don't need to.
I hate that.
What do you mean?
I hate that. I just I'm sorry to say it, and this is coming from a guy who went to a school who's never won his conference tournament. I love conference tournaments. I understand why you don't have to win.
I do too. No, I do too. I love them too, but I'm also would Arkansas making a run in the SEC tournament surprise you? No, it shouldn't.
Well,
that would surprise me a little bit at this point.
I don't think that they're not going to win. Auburn's not going to win the SEC tournament because they don't have to. I just think, like, if they're going to win it, their last 3 games are going to be against a top 15 team in America. Then in the semifinals are probably going to be playing like a top 6 team in America. And then in the championship game, it's like one of the top, another number 1 seed.
No one plays to lose.
Yeah.
It's not playing to lose. The method's
Yeah.
like it's playing to lose. No, it's not playing to lose. It's just they're going to show up to the conference tournament. They don't have to win maybe as badly as others.
Honestly,
I don't know what their mindset's
That's also
Yeah.
true. Also true. Also true.
I don't know what their mindset's going to be. Listen, Mo, I will say this. If they win the SEC tournament and win the national championship, they belong in the class of the greats because they will have only had 3 losses in the best conference we've ever seen.
Yep. I think there's an argument to be made for Duke as well, but I have a fun set on Duke we're going to get to here in a second. I do just right before we get to a break, I want to hit you guys real quick on one thing, right? So I'm very torn on this, right? And Gooden and I kind of argued about it the other day in New York.
You guys argued?
Yeah, we argued. And I see both sides of the argument here, right? So the strength of the SEC this season, let's just take Oklahoma as the example, right? When it comes to teams getting in the tournament, Oklahoma 17-12 overall, which is like the same record as Nebraska, who we had in, and a better record than Ohio State, who we had in our last bracket projection. But they're 4-12 in the SEC, and I feel very uncomfortable putting a 4-12 team in a league into the NCAA tournament as an at-large bid. But they also beat Arizona on a neutral court, Louisville on a neutral court, and Michigan on a neutral court in December. So if you flip that, well, let's just say they lost those 3 games, but they beat like a Missouri, an Ole Miss, and a Texas A&M, and they were 7-9 in SEC play, and still 17-12 overall. It would be the same thing. They just would have won later, and I feel like that is a bad precedent to set because you want games in December to be meaningful, right? If the games in December don't matter, no one's going to watch games in December, and we're trying to cut through the noise for college basketball to make it be a year, like a full season instead of just being something that matters in February. So, Tio, I'll go to you first on this one. Fan, you weigh in. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is here for that.
So we have to have those games in the early part of the season matter. Here's my thing. They do matter because they yank up the conference.
It matter.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, 4-12. Ugh, that's so gross.
Yes,
that is so gross. 4-12. I don't know that you can do that. I just.
Well,
they do matter. They do matter. They're huge, big wins. Oklahoma will have fun in the NIT. How's that? I'll give them an NIT bid. Is that okay?
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's good enough for Porter Moser. I don't know if it's good enough for. I mean, it's Oklahoma here. I'm not saying that they're a blue blood. They're certainly not. But the standard there is higher than that. And at the end of the day, when you get off to that kind of a start and then you struggle to this degree in conference play, I mean, here's the thing. You really need the Missouri game tonight.
Hold on.
What you just did sums up Oklahoma's season.
Yeah.
What was that right there?
I'm trying so hard, dude. I am on you remember that 14 and 16 day assignment streak? I'm right in the middle. We're all in the middle of it. I'm like, come on,
March, man. Trust me. I think every single one of us is tired. I fell. I don't know if I should be admitting this, but I was sitting in my office chair the other night, and I got the 2 TVs up on the wall over there, and I got a laptop screen or a desktop right there, and I got a monitor right here.
I ain't complaining, man.
Where I can watch.
I'm not complaining either. I'm just sitting here trying to keep my eyes like.
I fell asleep watching 4. I sat there like this, and I just fell myself, and I must have been 10 minutes later. I woke up, and my neck was so. I was like, did I just fall asleep watching basketball here? That was.
Oh, so did Matt McCall.
Yeah. Look, it'll happen.
Did
man.
McCall fall asleep?
Yeah.
Well, he showed up to the show last night at about 11:10. He just said, "Sorry, guys, I dozed off."
Look, I figured that's what it was, man. The hardest thing, Tio, you can attest to this. The hardest thing to do right now at this point in time is like lay down and read your kids a story at bedtime and not fall asleep when you're in the middle of this grind. Like it is that is the hardest thing for me to do.
Fanta will get there. Fanta will get there.
You'll find out, Finn.
You'll find out.
You'll
find out.
Hey, man, I'm wired right now. Okay.
Well, you're wired right now. You have no child.
You guys know me.
You have a child coming.
I was at Georgetown last night. We did the 11th.
Dude, by the way, good call at the end, man.
Yeah, you did.
Awesome call.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was fun. It
Yeah.
was first time since '93. Listen, to answer T.O.'s question or your question, Rob, Oklahoma needs to beat Missouri tonight for me to really get swayed that they belong in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's a game they got to win.
Yeah, I agree. All right, when we come back, got to talk a little bit about UNC. I want to hit you on Xavier Fanta, and I have a stat on Duke that kind of blew my mind when we read it, and that will be after this break. College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68. Bet insurance tokens, odds boosts, and what I love, a nice parlay boost or two here or there. Be sure to keep your eye out in the app for the Field of 68 specials that we'll be running throughout the season as well. So go download the BetMGM app. That you know what? Every single episode, my production gets better. Every single episode.
I'm just so happy we get to take a break from Doster to get more Doster.
Yeah, everyone needs it, man. You can never have enough
We
Doster.
gotta have more reads, man. We gotta give him a
wait,
call on
just wait. I signed
read.
We have
waking up.
3 to 4 more sponsors coming. So instead of just having 2 reads per show of me, you're now going to have 6 reads per show.
God.
I did a read last week.
Yes. I might look. You know what, Fana? If you guys want to do them, I don't like doing them. I don't like doing the reads. It's so hard to do because you got to be able to look at the camera while also read something, but make it look like you're not reading something. You're looking at the camera. It's not easy. Tio, you're next. You want to do it? We got you.
If you need me to, I'll do it. You know me.
I'm gonna make.
I want to bring. If we're gonna do that, I want to bring back the Manscaped reads.
What if you get paid a little bit? I'm going to Mohegan Sun for the Big East Women's Tournament on Fox.
Yeah, you are.
I'm going to sprinkle some cash around the tables with my Rhythm money.
There you go.
Listen, this is it, Terrence. Hubie Davis is going to try to clinch a tournament spot Saturday.
Okay, so look, I want to ask you guys this. All right, UNC has ripped off 6 in a row. They have put themselves in the position to do the one thing they need to be able to do to get into the tournament, and that is beat Duke at home. All you got to do, beat your arch rivals at home, Terrence. You're our ACC guy. You just called Duke the other night. You called Georgia Tech the other night. You know more about the ACC than anybody else on planet Earth, and I'm going to go ahead and say that right here. You are the ACC insider. Break it down for me. How does North Carolina beat Duke on Saturday?
Rivalry games are weird, especially that one. And we've seen throughout modern history the fact that Duke Carolina could get really weird. And sometimes one team's not as good as they typically are, and they end up playing close and miracles happen at the end. I can smell it. Do I think it happens? No, I think they close the door before the smell gets too bad. But the fact that they started playing Drake Powell at the 3 and they started going with some of these bigger lineups with Jalen Withers at the 4 and Vin Allen Lubin and Jalen Washington at the 5. They went back to a traditional size. What's going on, Rob? What are you doing?
My son is homesick, and he's sitting at the door right now staring at me.
Well, why don't you, you need
Get him on here, man, and tell him
I will in a
congratulations.
second. He just walked away.
Congratulations for
when he comes back. Chase,
winning the championship. He won a championship.
He won a championship.
Yeah. No, but they went to a traditional lineup, bigger at the 3, 4, 5. And when I say bigger, we're not talking a ton bigger. We're talking just big enough to actually be able to compete. Do I think they'll beat Duke? No. Do I think they'll give them a run for their money?
Tell Tio what you did on
possibly
on Monday night.
Chase, what's up, man? You need to start feeling better. Congratulations on your championship.
Congratulations, Chase.
Thanks.
Are you a champion?
Yeah.
Ask Tio how many championships he's got.
How?
More than your dad.
Get out of here, dude.
I think you go back
sorry.
and you look. I think Carolina has a chance. There's always a chance, but this Duke team is so good. And I thought it was capped off the other day. I was sitting there watching. I did the great game with West Durham, the Professor West Durham, and I'm sitting there, and Tyrese Proctor's out, Malik Brown's out, Sion James gets into foul trouble, Cooper Fly gets smacked in the face. Con Knippel has to run the point. And he was awesome doing it. He had like 9, 5, and 5 or something. Like something in the first half that was like, man, there's nothing to worry about. We're just going to figure it out. Now, is Florida State great? No, but they have length and athleticism and all that stuff to where they could give you some problems if you don't handle things correctly. Duke just has options on top of options. And it's their collective size is what stands out. And if you keep in mind, too, like say they go to that small lineup and they have Drake Powell at the 4, Ben Allen Lubin at the 5. Duke's shortest player on the floor would be an inch shorter than North Carolina's tallest player on the floor. So tough sell. Is it possible? Yes. It would have to be an all-time RJ Davis performance for it to happen. But is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No.
I think you need RJ and Ian Jackson to combine for like.
And then you need a big game from Jalen Withers.
Yeah, somehow you need to get like 55 or 60 out of RJ and Ian Jackson, and then hope that the rest of the guys, everything they're throwing up goes in. I think that's the way you got to do it.
You need a combined 65 from RJ Davis, Ian Jackson, and Seth Trimble. Seth Trimble's an X factor to the game.
Yes.
When he's been on, Carolina's a different team. He kind of unlayers something to that offense. Hey, when you're talking about the defense, what's up, man? You're talking about the defense of Duke and how disruptive they are. You have to find a way to have game breakers.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have guys who open up the floor game and can generate some pace. You do not want Duke to get set in their half-court defense and try to go up against that. Nobody's going to be able to beat that defense consistently. So you have to find some transition. In that regard, Carolina's got some weapons to do that. The method sums it up in our chat. Hard to score over 70 on Duke. Damn right it is. And that's why, like at some point, if I'm Hubert Davis, I say, listen, guys, they think they've got this wrapped up. Let's face it, they blew you out the first time. Do it for your pride here, man. Defend. Dig in defensively. Like at some point, if Carolina's going to have a shot in this game, they're going to have to find a way to keep Duke from dribble penetration, force Duke on the perimeter, not wide open threes, although you might have to live with some things. We talked about that with Illinois. Illinois said to Sion James, hit a couple, let's dare you to. They did. I don't think you can just totally leave guys wide ass open. But you have to, this is a pride game. This is where you find out how much you value your coach and how much you value Carolina Blue. Like, yes, there's a lot at stake. There's a lot of pressure. But you've got to generate pace, and you've got to say, you know what? Like, I also think this. Duke's more dangerous to me when Con Knippel is hitting shots, when Sion James gives him something, when Tyrese Proctor is rolling. Like, it's not all Cooper. If Cooper scores 24, but he only has 2 assists, I actually would sign the dotted line right now. I'd sign it. Do you know that Cooper Flag has 30 assists to 3 turnovers in his last 6 games?
Yeah, he's a freak.
You can't let him be a facilitator. And you've got to find a way to keep Duke from making this we're going to defend you in the half court for 40 minutes game. If you're Carolina, the only way you do that is by getting defensive rebounds and by generating some tempo. Carolina, I know you've got the perimeter talent to get your crowd behind you and make some threes. You're going to have to hit at least 12 threes in this game, and you need R.J. Davis to play like a first-team All-American.
I think they also need a little bit in. I feel like I'm going to regret this. They need to have a quicker leash on Elliot Cadeau because he can turn one bad possession into 4 quick.
Yep,
and he hasn't had a great year. So like you need to yank him when he starts to stink, because if you let this game get away from you, Duke can go on a 15-0 run. Forget a kill shot. Duke can go on a 15-20 to 18-2 run,
and you can't let that happen. Or you have to allow your crowd to be able to impact this game, because they're going to be fired. It's R.J. Davis senior night. It's Duke coming in the building. Here's the stat that I was going to give you about Duke. They have the highest net rating in KenPom since 1999. That was the Duke team that lost to those UConn Huskies in the national championship game in 1999. They are setting records in terms of their dominance in the ACC this year, guys. It is the first time since J.J. Redick is there that they've had 2 or fewer losses in ACC play. And if they lose at home to UNC, they will not be the 1 seed in the ACC tournament. If Clemson wins out and Duke loses to UNC, Clemson will be the 1 seed in the ACC tournament. It's the ACC is a really strange league this year.
Really strange, and it was really bad in the non-conference.
Yep, I don't think
bad.
I don't think anyone is flying further under the radar right now than your Tigers, T.O. By the way,
yeah, but that's okay. We'll stay there. I actually think, and I've said this on a game broadcast, Clemson could mess around with the right draw, make it to San Antonio.
I do not disagree at all. They don't have a weakness.
No.
Like when you look at teams, like let's just take, we talked about BYU earlier, right? If you can climb up in their guards and get really physical with them defensively, you can force turnovers. Yegor Demon, as good as he is, if you put a 6'3" dude on him, he's not doing anything. He's turning the ball over there. Dylan Hall can turn the ball. There's ways that you can beat them, right? Same thing with Purdue. Same thing with you. There's ways that you could beat a lot of these teams. There's no specific matchup that you could look at for Clemson and say that team is going to give them a problem, because they do everything well. The question is, do they do it well enough to be able to beat some of the best teams in America? And I think that if they get the right draw, they can do what they did last year, because they were a couple of possessions away from getting there.
They had beaten Alabama earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Yep.
And I see something. Duke can't be a number 1 seed if they finish 3rd in the ACC period. That's just not true. And the reason being is the ACC, the top 3 teams are all going to be 18-2 at the end of this season.
Yep.
Barring a collapse from Louisville, who has the 2 California teams as the last 2, and I didn't see their score last night or whenever, but and then Clemson has Boston College.
Yeah. Duke's not finishing 3rd. They're finishing at worst tied for 1st. They just might not be the 1 seed because they lose a tiebreaker with Clemson, and there's 8,000 teams in the ACC, and it's not a double round robin. That's the reason why they wouldn't be the 1 seed.
Yeah. So and they'll still get a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament no matter what.
Yep. Xavier or North Carolina, guys. Those are the 2 teams. We talked about Oklahoma earlier. The other option is a Xavier or a North Carolina team that on paper looks better. When it comes to on film looks better, but does not on paper in terms of resume have anywhere near the quality of wins that someone like an Oklahoma or an Arkansas does. I think Xavier and North Carolina each have 1 quad 1 win this season. How do you evaluate that, T.O., and how do you think the committee will evaluate that?
We all love Sean. I'm a little shocked that Xavier's getting so much consideration. I know they've been on a 5-game winning streak, and they smacked Creighton, but the 4 games prior to that, Providence, is that a good win? No. DePaul, no. Butler, no. Seton Hall, hell no. And then they got some confidence, so they get going. Are we sure that they beat Marquette at Marquette by 2 January 18th? They beat UConn, sure. But what's their resume proven compared to something like North Carolina or something like that?
Fana, they're saying that you need to get off the podcast so you can go do the meet and greet at the Providence Convention Center.
I'm not getting off the podcast. And to answer your question, if we look at metrics, North Carolina and Xavier have the same amount of quadrant 1 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina has one more quad 1 loss than Xavier does, and Xavier has one more quad 2 win than Carolina does.
Yeah.
And Xavier scheduled 2 less quad 3 and 4 games than Carolina did. Carolina owns a quadrant 3 loss. Xavier has no blemishes on their resume. It's a resume without blemishes. The quadrant 1 win is a win at Marquette. That's a Q1A or so win. It's right there on the road. They blew out Creighton. They beat Connecticut. So their quad 2 victories are not like, oh, flimsy. They have a couple of quad 2s that are right on the precipice of being quadrant 1. And this is where I don't like the net system, not for the reason that you think. For instance, Butler has a net of 78. I absolutely despise the fact that if they end up with a net of 74, that's a quad 1 game now on the road. I think it's BS because I don't think it's a quad 1 game. I don't think Butler's a quad 1 level opponent. Just being honest with you. That this is where we overreact to a team's quad total. Now, I think there's validity to some of the data. Here's what I know. And I watch these, you guys watch these teams all year. Xavier has won 10 of 13. If they win at Butler tonight, which is a high quad 2 win by the metric system, and then they handle business against Providence, they will have won 12 of their last 15 games. And their strength of non-conference schedule was solid. It was good. They did schedule people. They didn't beat them all. They actually lost on a number of opportunities. But to me, Xavier, if the committee is looking at this from a number standpoint, they're in the conversation. And if the committee is packaging that together with putting the best 68 teams in their field, Xavier is playing over the last month and a half like one of the best teams that deserve an at-large consideration. It might be in Dayton. My prediction is they will be in Dayton. I'll use one more statistical evidence, okay? Remember, record number of bid stealers, so these teams could all get left out. But if it's a normal number, 71 consecutive Big East teams that have won at least 21 regular season games have been selected to the NCAA tournament. 71 in a row. If Xavier goes 2-0 this week, they will have 21 wins.
Yep. I will point out as well, the loss to Marquette at home, which was stolen from them by an official that decided that tripping was no longer a foul in the world of college basketball. Zach Fremantle did not play. The game at UConn that they lost in overtime.
That's right.
Zach Fremantle could not play. Those are 2 of the biggest opportunities that they had to get big wins. To your point, for me, it's simply the eye test, which is not a way to be able to evaluate teams and I don't think should be taken into NCAA tournament consideration. But Xavier, what happened to them early in the year?
I disagree with you on that. I do think that there's 12 humans in that room. Don't let them fool you. They put certain teams in because they want some TV ratings and they watch them.
Yeah, I think they want some TV ratings part's a real thing.
Yes. If you want TV ratings, put Xavier and Ohio State playing each other in Dayton. That'll get a lot of TV ratings.
Oh my
you
God,
want TV ratings, and you have to pick between North Carolina and Xavier. You're picking North Carolina.
You're picking North Carolina 100% of the time. But I'll just say this with Xavier, right? They choked at TCU and gave that game away. They choked at Cincinnati and gave that game away. They had a chance to win at UConn and couldn't get it done. They should have won at Marquette or at home against Marquette, couldn't get it done. They were up by 19 in the second half at St. John's and couldn't get it done. One of those wins goes the other way, and it's a very different conversation for Xavier heading into the dance. Last thing I'll say on this topic, Xavier right now looks pretty locked in at the 5 seed in the Big East tournament, which means they are going to get UConn. I think they will get UConn depending on what happens tonight against Marquette, right? If UConn beats Marquette, then UConn will end up being the 3 seed, and then Creighton will be the 4. Is that correct, Vanna?
No, Creighton's the 2.
So Marquette will be the 4.
It'll be Marquette Xavier in a 4-5 game. Wow.
That is the best case scenario for Xavier because they played really, really well against Marquette this season. They
by the way, they should have
really well.
They could have beat St. John's.
Yeah, and that's the best. To me, that's the best case scenario for Xavier's chances to get into the NCAA tournament, because you get Marquette, that's a quad one opportunity on a neutral court, and then you get St. John's with an opportunity to lock in.
Robbie, what's the Big East semifinal Friday look like if it's St. John's and Marquette or Xavier, and it's UConn and Creighton?
Insanity, absolute insanity. Like I just if you are a Big East fan, if you are a basketball fan, I think the only thing that you should be rooting for is a UConn St. John's Big East tournament title game. And then also, if you go to that game as either a fan of UConn or St. John's, like you're going to have to wear some body armor there, right? You're going to have to wear some body armor, and you're going to have a lot of money. But,
you better have some money, man.
Yep, you better have some money.
Significant money.
Yep, and I have a very hard time seeing a way that UConn wins that game. St. John's is such a nightmare matchup for them right now. Listen, last thing I got for you guys, VCU won a share of their league title on Tuesday night. New Mexico won a share of their league title on Tuesday night. Memphis won their regular season championship outright.
Ooh.
Of those three teams, you got to take one of them. You got to bet your house on one of them making it to the Sweet 16. Who is it and why? Fanta, we'll go to you first, then T.O., you go.
Yeah, I'm going to go with VCU on this one because of the fact that I really like their shot making. Max Scholgel's over 43% from beyond the arc. Philip Russell can knock down threes somewhat consistently. They got guard play, guys. Like, they got guys who play under control. They're tough. If they didn't take some early losses, they'd be a consensus top 25 team. And I just think that this is a team that has really hit their stride and figured it out. They're top 30 in KenPom. They're top 20 in KenPom defense. They do contain you defensively. They get up in you and guard. They really do guard, and they can knock down shots at a high rate. Scholgel is a star. Remember, he was going to go to Villanova? It's the best news that could happen to VCU that he came back. I like the Rams. I think Richard Pitino's done a money job and deserves an immense amount of credit. My fear with Richard is that he's stuck in an 8-9 game.
That's 100% it.
Okay, you guys remember a few years ago when I picked Miami to make a big run?
Yep.
And they made a big run. I think they made a run all the way to the Final Four. That's what I remember.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hold on. Let's be clear about this.
Victory lap! I'm taking it.
You had not slept the night before, right? We had done the Big East tournament game. Or no, it was the ACC tournament title game in the Barclays.
Really wrong, man. You
had not slept. You took a 6 a.m. flight. You went to LaGuardia directly from the Barclays Center. You had not slept that entire day.
Oh, yeah.
And you were 100% delirious and out of your mind. You were drunk on exhaustion.
Hey,
on that show.
For what it's worth, better to be lucky than good sometimes.
Yeah, you were drunk on exhaustion, but that's when you make your best picks. Because you
right.
were on fire on that show. You were falling asleep here earlier. You're getting pretty tired over there, T.O. So whatever you're about to say, I want the people to understand that you could take this to the bank, okay?
Yeah.
Because when T.O. is tired, the T.O. tires. That's what we have right here. When T.O. tires, that's when
T.O.'s tears and tires. Anyway, next, let's do this. I'm going to pick Memphis for the same reason I picked Miami. Like, 2 shot-creating guards, Tyrese Hunter and P.J. Haggerty, a front court that is good. And there is some truth to that, Keith Keller. T.O. is always delirious, maybe so. However, I like the fact that whenever you get into the tournament, you're physical across the front line, and you have guys that can find shots when your offense breaks down. I'm picking Memphis the same reason I picked Miami out of those 3. Love all 3. Love Richard Pitino. I was actually hoping Richard would end up somewhere on this coast after this coaching cycle, but
he might.
He still might. However,
there's
still a chance. However, it's still looking kind of crazy. But I will say Memphis, PJ Haggerty, some of those guys, they have the ability to create shots at the end of the clock. They have a front court with Musa Cisse and Dane Danger that is just ridiculous in terms of size. Dane Danger has real skill at the 4 spot, wherever they decide to play him. And then they just have Nick Jourdain, who's also a really nice player. So I'm picking Memphis for the same reason. They just won the American. I think they've won like 14 out of 15 or something like that. This Memphis team is really good and really tough.
I'm 100% with you on Memphis. I like them the most of this group. Love New Mexico. Hard to win out of the 8-9 game to make a run. That's when
North Carolina made the Final Four a few years ago. Whenever they had the 8-9 game.
Yeah, they ended up with Baylor in the second round, and Baylor had like 6 healthy bodies, and everybody like that. That was a tough one. I will say this though, I don't know if you guys remember this. In late April, there was like a 3-day stretch where Donovan Dent was coming back to New Mexico. JT Toppin had not yet entered the portal, and John Tanji had committed to play at New Mexico before he changed his commitment. We're working on our All-American teams right now. Spoiler alert, all 3 of those guys are going to be field of 68 All-Americans at some level. And all 3 of them could have been at New Mexico, which means there was a world where Nelly Jr. Joseph was the 4th best player on the New Mexico basketball team.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we did not get an opportunity to see that world, because that might have been the first time we've ever seen a team go into the NCAA tournament undefeated since Wichita State. No, since Kentucky, Kentucky in 2015. So too bad that
big one Friday, Boise State, Colorado State.
Hell yeah, man. The
Huge.
Mountain West. There's nothing better than some good late night Mountain West basketball, and we got some of it coming up tonight.
I wonder who's on that call.
Is he a really handsome gentleman that does not have does not
have much hair on his face? Yeah.
It's J.B. Long and Terrence Oglesby.
Yep.
That'll be
fly directly down to do San Diego State.
That'll be You know what? I love it.
Nevada and San Diego State. Yeah.
I love it, T.O.
With my guy Max Line went. He's awesome.
Yeah. Excited.
Please tell Max I said hello.
I will.
Yep.
That'll be good.
All right, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. We will see you guys again hopefully early next week at some point, maybe Monday or Tuesday. We'll figure it out. We got to do a conference tournament preview at some point.
This is Champ Week.
I'm fired up.
Before we go, I got Monday and Tuesday. I got all day Monday and then like early morning Tuesday. That's all I got.
I can do any of that. Fanta,
let's go ahead and plan while we're live.
Yeah,
I think that's the best thing to do.
The only thing I have on Monday is I have something
I got to see on Monday when I'm open, because I got the Big East Women's Championship game on FS1 Monday night, so I got to see what time Gino Auriemma is going to go at, because I think he'll probably be in that.
Fanta, my people will reach out to your people.
That sounds good.
We'll get it done on Monday in a gap. Absolutely.
Love it. Gentlemen, it's always great to see you. Fanta, have a great call tonight. Tell all your fans I said hello. T.O., enjoy beautiful